Julia has reminded us of that, what is known as a revenue equivalence theorem. Without boring with details, essentially that says that even if you have two different formats, you should have the same expected revenue. So unless there is something a bit specific about the circumstances of the market and the rivals, you should get the same expected prices, the same price effects in expected terms from the merger.
Okay, you have it. There.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me just thank you for that. Okay, yes, there you are. So, all of this institutional sort of discussion about what auction markets may be like, of course, is well established in economics. There's a long tradition, there is a great literature on this, it is well known in places like electricity market. These are markets that are typically organized formally in the form of auctions, and there is quite a lot of insight that comes from that. Less so in a lot of the markets that we often deal with, right? And so the implication is that if you have a merger in a market in which indeed there is a form of institutional organization of the bidding that kind of follows this kind of well-established structure, then of course it makes sense to adopt that kind of format as your format of analysis. The bigger question is, what when you have a market in which, yes, there is some form of RFQ and bidding and multiple rounds, but the structure isn't quite clear. It's not very obvious how you fit it into the first or the second sort of format. And I think more broadly, the question which I think Julia was also considering is that's interesting, but how does the distinction between these two structures matter when, you know, in expectation terms, unless something is a bit special, the results should be the same. Do we care about the average price? And how, when we do the analysis, conditioning of this structure gives us better predictions and analysis for what might be the potential effects of the merger. These are sort of the bigger picture questions that essentially go beyond the specific case. Too far. Too far. So, in a sense, in simplifying perhaps too much, one can sort of look at the distinction between these two approaches as one putting more emphasis on participation, analysis of participation, of course, also who wins and who loses. The second one more of an analysis of the runner-up. And what do we care about when we're looking at merger effects? Do we care about participation or runner-up? Well, in an obvious sense, the information that we're looking to get is information on the closest competitor, right? And so, in an obvious sense, the information on the runner-up is very relevant and it tells us a lot. So, if we have a situation in which the data allows us to look at that directly, then that is great. But I think it is also important not to forget that there is information, there can be useful information on closeness of substitution, closeness of competition, also when you don't have detailed information or reliable information on the runner-up. It's not as if, you know, if I only have information on participation or who wins, I can just give up on knowing who the closest competitor is. And so perhaps this is my main point, in a way, on this, that yes, runner-up analysis is useful and interesting when you can do it and the data allows you to do it, but there is information on closeness of competition and substitution that can come from well-conducted participation analysis. And you can think of two extreme situations, right? So you can have a data set with multiple competitors. In principle, you can assume they're all capable of bidding for every piece of business. But in reality, when you look at it quite deeply, and this is an extreme example, you see that for some customers you always have these two firms, and some other customers you have these other two sort of bidding for that type of customer or business. Well, frankly, that tells you a lot, right? Because they are separate markets. Define them as you like, but they're clusters, segments, markets, but the participation tells you a lot. And so when you have a cluster or a market, call it what you like, where you have two, well, they're kind of the closest competitors, right? And so, you know, this is an extreme scenario, but it is also telling us that there are situations in which you can extract information. Of course, you know, you have another world, another extreme case in which, you know, everyone is participating, and what customers decide on isn't directly observable. So information is quite it's quite opaque. And so then who actually participates in bids doesn't tell us very much about closeness. And then really you want to see more about the structure of the tender, whether they go to a second stage, who is shortlisted into the second stage, to tell you more about closeness of competition. If you can't condition your analysis on observable variables and kind of cut the market shares in interesting ways, then you really need to think more about going to a second stage. So, it's really, to me, about thinking relatively intelligently about participation as well. Again, my point is that quite a lot can be extracted from relatively simple but intelligent analysis of participation. So, yes, you can write a model, and it has happened in a recent case in which, an eminent economist says, I have a model that really shows that all that matters is runner-up. It's not participation. But of course, if you then aggregate all of the tenders, throw them in, treat every bid as equivalent, then inevitably, all the participation information doesn't tell you very much about closeness of competition by definition. But participation, again, if it is kind of looked at in a careful enough way, can give us something about substitutability. An example which is very obvious, but you can have a data set of 100 bids. In the big data set, you have A bidding against being a runner-up only 10 times, but if you then cut the data properly, you find that they only meet in 20 out of 100 data. So 10 out of 20 being the runner-up is pretty high, right? Even though being the runner-up overall in 10 out of 100 isn't very high. So this type of analysis, I think, has a lot of uses, and if the data, as I say, is properly stratified, using the slightly more technical term, conditioning on the right characteristics, then you learn a lot. You learn a lot about market definition, clustering, and through that, also to some extent on closeness of competition. So I think that is something that I wouldn't want to. So while I think runner-up is a useful framework, is not the only way that we should think about that. And so on this, I personally think about bidding analysis very much as a tool that you use to basically understand the segmentation and how to stratify the demand. And that is complemented by a lot of qualitative information that you need to get in order to explain what you see in the data. Why do we see only these 2 or 3 people bidding in this cluster? Well, because it has to do with their capabilities, their cost, their credibility, their reputation, their ability to operate at scale, and so on. We need to explain what we see, but then it is a useful exercise that tells us a lot about what happens if some of these people merge. And I would go as far as to say that, to me, this analysis as I use in the first place is a very useful tool, market definition and market segmentation. And then we use it also to measure the direct effect on margins, but that's where I would start. Either I get information about the bidder who's the runner-up from the data, and that tells me about closeness of competition, or I can get quite a long way from these other parts. I want to give a bit of a case study. I will be fairly quick on this, but it is an interesting case I picked just because it isn't one of Giulio's cases. It's not a commission case, so I thought it wouldn't be terribly controversial. But it is a case which has to do with, it was a phase 2 in Germany and the UK, in the exciting market for suspensions as springs, and it went to phase 2 and then it was cleared unconditionally on the basis of this type of analysis. So when in many ways it was a classic case in which you had OEMs issuing RFQs periodically. They were both for new models and for existing models. There was explicit invitation of selected suppliers, and then there were several rounds, and certainly there were relationship effects that mattered because, of course, how much you were already known to that OEM mattered. Also, how much R&D you were making with an OEM mattered. So a lot of potential information